what's happening in the financial system over in Canada, because I just got back from the World Economic Forum and you were selected as the top country across the globe for your financial institutions. And that is one of the things that the President highlighted on his trip. What have you done right in your banking system, and does it worry you watching what's happening just across the border in the United States here, and if that could long-term have any ripple effects on you?
Well, we're obviously all hugely worried about the American financial system and about the financial system of some other countries. Frankly, Alexis, until that problem gets fixed, it's hard for me to see how we're going to turn the corner on this recession that we're in now. You know, in Canada, I think the explanations for why our system is so strong are complicated. We've obviously maintained a stronger system of regulation in Canada. We actually have a more activist form of regulation. The Superintendent of Financial Institutions meets regularly with the major financial institutions. We're helped by the fact that we have 6 major banks, 3 major insurance companies, so it's easier for the government to exercise moral suasion on the sector. But the sector has, as a consequence of our strong system of regulation, also developed a very prudential culture. And our banks are far less leveraged than their counterparts in the United States or Europe.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, because leverage has clearly been the biggest, I guess, Achilles heel for us here in the United States. Let's talk a little bit about the Canadian oil sands. 20% of the oil imports that we take in are from you. I know you've entered technically into a recession in the last quarter. As you mentioned, you're doing a fiscal stimulus package here, but 129,000 people lost their jobs in January. What are you doing right now to rectify your economy, and how much of, you know, our carbon emission conversation, our cap and trade conversation, our alternative energy conversation, how much of that worries you because you rely on those exports?
Well, there's 2 questions in there. First of all, the state of our economy. We don't have, as you just mentioned, we don't have the financial sector problem that you have in the United States. We haven't had to bail out any of our financial institutions. We don't have the mortgage problem. Certainly we have a downturn in our housing sector, but it's not structural. There will be no government bailout of mortgages in Canada. Last year we introduced some long-term tax reductions to try and stave off the recession. That worked for about a year. Now we've entered into a series of spending initiatives. They're largely time-limited initiatives focused on infrastructure development, focused on getting other levels of government to also put some time-limited money into some stimulative actions. We should be able to do that and emerge back into surplus in about 4 years' time. So we haven't got a structural deficit problem, which puts us in a pretty good financial position.
You've been running a budget surplus.
We've been running a budget surplus for over a decade. And we're in a position to return to surplus as soon as the recession is over. So that's obviously a strength we have. In terms of your question about the oil sands, look, Americans should be under no illusion. When I look at the energy needs of the United States, there's going to be lots of demand for all kinds of oil, particularly Canadian oil, which is a secure, safe supply from a reliable ally. That said, we are anxious to reduce our own greenhouse gas emissions. The fact that there is a government in Washington now that wants to see regulation over that problem is actually a reassurance to us, because we in Canada for a decade wanted to have some regulation on carbon emissions, but in an integrated North American economy, that's put us in a very difficult competitive position. So this should actually help us.
Universal health care.
Yeah.
The President is expected to start to talk about health care perhaps as early as this week. I don't know if you had a conversation about it. Did you have a conversation about it? What would you tell this President and the people in this country who worry that the U.S. is moving toward universal health care?
Well, look, I try and stay out of the health care debate in the United States, and the President and I, in fact, did not discuss it. He didn't ask my view. In Canada, we have a system of universal public health insurance. It is supported across the political spectrum. I will not say the system is perfect, but the fact that in Canada you can obtain health care without putting your family's financial position at risk is something that all political parties agree with. The debate in the United States, you have a very complex system. It's going to be a very complicated debate, and I will do my best to stay out of it.
Good answer. Well, Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming in and visiting us, and continued great relationships, hopefully, between Canada and the United States.
Thanks.